That's why he's fine. Yes.
Announce it. Pursuant to the problem.
That's nice, man. I mean, just thought, I mean, it was really easier on you walking.
I can put these
Oh, yeah.
into a
Yeah, so.
some percentages.
I don't want my,
There's like four events.
you know, never was going to be the. Yeah,
And that's all we're doing.
The meeting. Proof of minutes.
No, I said absolutely not.
Followed into executive session.
Yeah, so.
Okay, we may have to, because John can't be here tonight. Okay, okay, we've got probably about five minutes for our.
Yeah, let's wait.
On.
Ready for spring. Yeah, right, I think we can.
Yes, we were talking about.
Cold weather kills me.
Beautiful lady. Really bad.
What are we gonna do? We got we got notification. What's, we had all our presentations last time.
Right, right.
We're gonna, is there gonna be any,
We'll start the meeting, and then after we approve the minutes and if we need to appoint Paul McDaniel to sit in for John Clark, whatever, then we will do that, and then we'll go into executive session for deliberation.
one thing that we, after we left here, the charge against us was never read. You know, what we were cited for?
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
wasn't in
It
reference
said
to
we
the
had weeds, et cetera, like that, but that was never, if you were sitting in the audience, you had no idea, you know, what the charge really was.
Well, it was on the agenda.
Pardon me?
It was on the agenda.
It says in the minutes, it says Chief
Yeah.
Gerard.
Yeah, and Chief Sherrard in his presentation recited that. He quoted that.
Well, you too.
I'm deaf as one ear, mask, I can't. Sorry.
Oh, great. I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to be here or not, so
Yeah, Paul, John Clark cannot be here tonight, and so we will probably need you to sit in.
Oh, all right.
For-
When I am in the way of
And I must have written down a wrong phone number or digit or somewhere, because I tried to call him on his mobile when I got the Banker's Bank recording, and I'm thinking, I never even heard of the Bankers.
Bankers Bank.
The Banker's Bank, I'm real interested in knowing just what that is.
Christmas all been.
Is that a money
He
laundering
knows all
thing? or-
about
He's not telling.
Exactly.
He's not telling.
Old Spears and Frankfurt, you know, up there, they all someplace. Well,
Yeah, have a seat up here. Here.
They have, marquee, they're not marquee, they have a.
what'd you do, break?
A little white dog. Yeah, they were around there. Oh, gosh.
The road person, problems in the road.
Yeah, no. But,
Oh, my.
Oh, Clark Burley one time tell me there's a hundred reasons you can be late, but there's no reason there's be. It's very.
You know, we don't hear, we can have one.
yeah. They do. They're the first. Not the one on the floor. Not the one on the, that's, yeah, okay. Very much.
It hurt me, but.
Yeah, well. It was fun.
Do you, Lynn, you want to borrow my clipboard?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you can, people can just.
Yes.
What have you been thinking up to?
Better is worse.
He told me, he said, yeah, this time was for real, not for practice, so.
How long did it take you to actually recover from the original surgery?
Still getting you, I figure you have to read how it was.
Well, I know it's hard. That's the,
They say 3 months.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, you can hardly see my skull.
Maybe. Yes, it is.
Lynn, could you read the letter that I sent around? Got a few extras here, I don't think. I sent the.
I think, man, yeah.
Do you need it? No, I think Bill's needs one, because I think I've got.
Awesome, nice, that is.
Replace your shoulders.
Well, I wish I could tell you that's the ring that was there.
Yeah.
He was, quiet in the hospital. Broken shoulder. He's still there.
Oh, I know.
And then, that's a year later.
Oh, man. As we get older, we gotta be a little more careful.
No, actually.
Yeah, the biggest danger, I think, that, as we get more mature, it's falling.
That's right. Jump off the bridge. I had something.
Yeah, you don't bounce back.
Because you never seem to break something simple.
No, shattered it from the old,
Yeah,
so nice to
That is.
be with you.
thank you.
Got seven.
Yeah.
Again, it looks like for a while, we were never gonna have it here.
I know, it took a while.
Hey, Chris, a basketball question for you. Why will they not play that sharp the rest of the year?
Why not playing? I have no idea.
Calipari announced tonight he's not playing.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to break the he doesn't want to hurt the chemistry of the team.
Apparently, he's eligible for the draft.
I don't think he wants to hurt the chemistry.
He's rated the second or third best player, and they're not playing him.
Yeah.
That could be a national championship or not. But there's a reason why, unless Calipari promised his family he wouldn't play. I don't know.
Well, they didn't want.
It's almost like not playing Anthony Davis.
They're doing pretty good without him. I think they're doing so good without him. He
That's
doesn't
not-
want to
that's-
mess up the chemistry.
Brooks is about as, Brooks compared to him is like you and I compared to him. This kid is a 6'11" and a half inch reach. He's over 200 pounds. He's a dead eye shot. And somebody said he could go number one
But they got
in the following draft.
Yeah.
But Calipari said he's not playing.
Yeah, right.
Coach Cal knows.
There's something deeper behind it. It's not his ability.
That's why Coach Cal gets $9 million and you and I don't.
I understand. There's something behind it deeper than ability. I don't know what it is.
It's 7 o'clock, so we will get started with the meeting.
Did you sign that paper?
Yes. Okay. I call the meeting to order. And tonight, John Clark, who is the vice chairman, is out of town and absent. Do I hear a motion that Paul McDaniel, as the alternate, represent John Clark at tonight's meeting?
Motion.
So moved by Al Binsfield, second by Lynn Dowling. All in favor? All opposed? The motion carries, and tonight, our alternate, Paul McDaniel, will cover and vote for John Clark in his absence. The next business, so we have a declaration of a quorum, and the next matter is approval of the minutes from the December 15th meeting as circulated. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, moved by Dennis Riggs and seconded by Paul McDaniel. Am I going too fast for you, Lynn? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved and will be posted. The only old business before us tonight is an executive session on Code Enforcement Board Case number 21-11-1, violation of nuisance ordinance 9203G located at 7513 Rockingham Road in Prospect. At the last meeting, we had presentations from both the city for the citation and from the person cited in an appeal. Tonight, we will be discussing that in executive session. And if we take any action, it will be in the public session after the end of the executive session. Yes.
I want to say that I was not able to find the minutes or the recording of this meeting. Do you know that on the Prospect website, there is no listing for the Code Enforcement Board under boards? And, you know, this information just was not available.
Well, the minutes of the last meeting will not be posted until they are finalized, which we just did by voting
Okay.
to approve them. So then within the next, usually 2 weeks to 30 days, they will be posted on the website.
But what
So
about the
they're-
recordings? The meetings are recorded and that's supposed to
The
be
meeting is
publicly available.
Right, and if you file a Freedom of Information request with the city clerk of the city of Prospect, they will make those available to you to listen to.
That's the only way you get them?
That's how you get them.
Okay.
And that's a standard routine for just about any public agency. That's how it's set up in the Kentucky open records laws.
Well, except all the minutes and the recordings of the city council meetings are available online. You don't have to file anything. Their recordings are there
Well,
that you can listen to.
because we meet so infrequently and ours are all special call meetings, they basically have not been posted in the past, but that certainly is a suggestion that we can make to the mayor and the.
I mean, I
city
found
council.
it curious that the Code Enforcement Board was not even listed as a board of the city on the city's website,
It should be.
but it's not.
Well, let's,
There's no legal requirement that it has to be.
Well, there is a listing for boards and it says that it's all the boards,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so why shouldn't the Code
Point
Enforcement
one
Board be
made.
listed
Well,
there?
And it has been, I think, in the past. I know they've redone the website in the last year or two. And it may have just been an oversight at that time. Yes.
Regarding the question, provision. Question, get them, that does not.
No. No. Executive session, you go into executive session for private deliberation, and so that, but you cannot take any action. And you can discuss, you can question, right, but you cannot take action. So any action that would be taken has to be, you have to reconvene in the meeting. I will talk to the mayor and city clerk about us being on there, and I think the minutes when they are approved should be on there if they are not. Part of the problem in finding them is probably they hadn't had a meeting in us for about 2 years, a year or two before. And I'm not sure how long they keep those posted for the individual boards and commissions. With that, we will go into executive session. Has everyone signed in so we have a record?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, everyone needs to leave, except the people on the Code Enforcement Board at this point, since we're in executive session.
We have to.
When we come out of executive session, we'll open the door.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pardon? No,
We want to turn that off to.
turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Well, we might all want to check just to make sure are these all off? Okay. Oh, okay, all righty. That's good. That works. Little green light means it's on.
Yeah, got it. See.
It's working. You all hear? Ron, I don't think my mic's working. The little green light's on, but nothing's. Oh, you, oh,
Speaking into the.
oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
okay. I just need to make sure the green light's, okay, so I just need to make sure the green light's on. Got it. Okay, you can tell I want baby run away. Let the record show that we have reconvened from executive session at 7:55. After much deliberation and discussion, we have reviewed the presentations. The charge in the presentation, the charge for the ordinance was the property located at 7513 Rockingham Road is currently in violation of the Prospect Code of Ordinances, Chapter 9203, nuisance Section G, due to excessive growth of weeds, grasses, vegetation on the premises. And that was, information was included.
Need to Put that in the record.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, let me back up for a minute. We received, Chris Gorman, our attorney, and I received a letter from Ms. McGrail dated December 17th, 2021, follow up to the Code Enforcement Board hearing. I would like to hear a motion to admit this as an exhibit, as evidence, although it was after the fact of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so Benfield has moved, McDaniel has seconded to accept McGrail letter dated 12/17/21 as an additional exhibit. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Back to the other. The penalties for a citation of this nature is section 92.99. Whoever violates any provision of this chapter shall be fined not less than 25 nor more than 500 for the first offense. Each day's continued violation shall constitute a separate offense, and repeat offenses shall be subject to increased fines as follows. A second violation within a 2-year period is a minimum $50. A third violation within a 2-year period is a minimum $100. A fourth and subsequent violations within a 2-year period is a minimum of $250. All fines are in addition to any expenses incurred by the city as a result of the violation, including court costs. This chapter shall be subject to enforcement by the Code Enforcement Board. A violation of this chapter shall be considered a civil offense in accordance with KRS 65.8808. And I wanted to stress here that these, where it says each day's continued violation shall constitute a separate offense, that means that these fees accrue daily. So for each day, it adds on that additional amount. We also find in looking at the photographs and making visitation to see the McGrail property, and then see the surrounding properties. And the photos also provided in support of that by Chief Sherrard, that the McGrail property is not in keeping of the surrounding property standards in a suburban community with well-kept lawns and defined plant beds. We are, however, sympathetic, Ms. McGrail, to what you are trying to do in terms of.
Ready. You can Take a vote
Oh,
on that.
okay, so
Session.
first, do I hear a motion that upholds the citation as issued by the city code enforcement officer? So moved. Okay, so I have, it's motion moved by Al Benfield, seconded by Dennis Riggs. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. So we are in agreement that there is a violation, and that the city has properly cited for it. Do I hear a motion relative to what the fine should be?
Chairman, I think we accept. So. Period. And suppose maybe a 30 day. We reconsider compliance plans and periodic approval. Pass and move.
So I hear a motion that the fines would be deferred of any fines for a period of 30 days in which Ms. McGrail could submit a plan back to the Code Enforcement Board, okay, for our acceptance or review. And if Ms. McGrail can come back within 30 days with the plan that is acceptable to this board, that we will then defer any of these fines. Okay? And if it's not accepted, then she would have not more than 60 days in which to do the plan.
This is winter time.
Wait a
Everything's
minute.
snowed in, you can't.
Well, we're saying 30 days to bring a plan in and another 60 days beyond that then to implement the plan or remediate.
Can I ask this one other question? I guess it's after the fact.
No, not at this,
Not at this
There was
time.
never any attempt, they called them weeds. We brought documentation for PhDs saying they weren't weeds.
okay, we're
They
not,
never had any expert.
we're not gonna.
We have a motion on the
I
floor.
mean,
We have a motion on the.
Let's see.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor made by Mr. Riggs. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Paul McDaniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries.
May I speak?
Briefly,
I do have lawn and I do have a defined garden bed. I do have flowering ornamental plants that bloom throughout the season. And I submitted pictures of those plants. You also have the expert testimony of 4 different people who are experts, that the plants in my garden are not weeds. So if I was cited for weeds and my plants are not weeds, then what does this mean?
It means that they considered it and you lost. And if you want to appeal, you can appeal, but they have been understanding in regards to waiving a fine. And if you want to work with them and try to come up with something that you can live with, your neighbors can live with, the community can live with, they will work with you, ma'am. But
We
we're
have
not
as
gonna,
many-
we're not gonna relitigate it.
So what kind of plan what are we talking about here?
well,
There are no weeds.
that is your position.
You haven't.
And
there are
expert
weeds. You have
testimony.
No expert. in it. Just the chief called them weeds. He said they told us they have nothing, they don't know a plant from a weed. And that's who we had to defend ourselves.
And we're not representing the case tonight. That's why we had the prior meeting, was to present the city's viewpoint as relates to the violation, the code as it's written, and then for you all to present your viewpoint. We have, I can assure you, deliberated at great cause and had much conversation while we have been in here about that. But our ultimate question that we look at is, what is, and this is also supported in the state code, what is the condition of the surrounding properties? What do they look like? And does your property mirror that for a suburban community, a golf course community, which Hunting Creek is, with lawns and defined plant beds?
I have
Such as
lawn
those.
and defined plant beds.
Well, it's not,
It's been there for 17 years.
well, it does not have that appearance, I guess, maybe any longer. I haven't lived in that part of Hunting Creek for that long, but we're not going to hear the case tonight. This is the finding after much deliberation. But we will be happy to work with you, Ms. McGrail, to try to come up with something that might be amenable to all parties.
And what would that be?
Well, I cannot tell you right now at this very point, but we will be happy to get back with you.
Could somebody come out from your thing and show us what you think are weeds?
I don't
We
think
asked
it's,
that from the very beginning, and they said, we don't know what weeds are from plants. That was the code guy.
well,
So I said, how can we talk to you if you don't tell us what you're talking about?
we're not
So you
having,
never identified what you were calling weeds or,
we're not having that debate here tonight, Mr. McGrail.
well, I'm just saying, you want us to come back to you.
We will be
Dear.
Okay.
Happy
all right.
to try
I'm
to
just
clear
I'm
that.
just angry. I'm sorry.
and
Stop.
come to some understanding that everyone can live with.
And how are we going to do that?
Well, I'll be happy to meet with you and possibly find some others that have more expertise in this area that could help us come to something that would be amenable.
All right, we can wait for you to come out and do that. That's fine. But to tell us to change something that we believe is a garden and has been a garden for 16, 17 years, and they're not weeds. I
I'm
believe,
trying to
I believe
encourage
if somebody doesn't take care of their yard, just lets things grow wild, that is a detriment and they should be punished. I agree with all that. This isn't what you got here.
Well, this is what your neighbors perceive, many of your neighbors perceive that you have there.
Except as many neighbors as complained also then supported us. So it's even Steven.
One being a very successful real estate agent 2 doors down from us. And she said, there's nothing wrong with it. She wrote you a letter too. We have PhDs from University of
We have
Louisville.
copies of those, Mr. McGrail. We
All
have
right,
copies.
All right,
There's no reason.
there's no, okay, he'll come by and he can discuss it with you, what you think.
Do I hear a
Motion to
motion for
adjourn.
adjournment?
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? I know it's not gonna change your mind, but you know what? I didn't have a voice that night. I had really severe laryngitis, and there was a point that I did want to make. I'm a little disappointed in.
And your name and address?
I'm Christy Geddes, and I live at 6415 Deep Creek Drive. And, you know, I feel like you've just opened up a Pandora's box. Because what one person may consider a nuisance, another person doesn't. And a point I want to make is, if any of you, you may not recognize me, but any of you have driven on Deep Creek Drive during Christmas, you know my house. I live in the house that has all the Christmas decorations, the 4 posts. And I have a neighbor 2 doors down that's Jewish. She's never complained, but I'm just gonna say as this, I've been here 14 years, almost 15. Well, what if this Christmas coming up, she decides that house is a nuisance? I don't believe in Christmas. The lights are bright. I'm tired of looking at it. People stop the cars and they look at the house. It's just a nuisance. And she complains about my home. Well, so she thinks it's a nuisance, even though she doesn't. I'm just saying, if she thinks it's a nuisance, there are 100 other people that love my house during Christmas. They always tell me about my home. And so that, I mean, who's to say that's a nuisance? Or if I have a neighbor that's very religious and she's just mad that my house is not about Jesus Christ. It's about Santa and snowmen and lights. And she gets mad and thinks, this is just ridiculous. I'm done with this. And she comes to you and she writes, you know, that this is a nuisance. You know, well, who are you to tell me it's a nuisance? It's my home. So I feel that in regards to Jacqueline, even if I was not her friend, I would still think this is wrong, because I think that you're saying, okay, the neighbor that complained again, she has 1970 shrubs in front of her house. I think that's outdated. I think brings the property value down. She needs to pull her 1970 shrubs out of her house. I think that's a nuisance. She's the one that complained on Jacqueline. Okay, well, her house, I think, is a nuisance as well. It's not updated. So
Your time is up, Ms. Geddes.
I'm just saying, like, who are you to say that's a nuisance? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you've just opened up this big Pandora box that any neighbor can say, I don't like their decorations, and can come to you and say, this isn't a code for Prospect. I mean, so I really just think that that's sad that this is happening.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Can I ask one question? If we have to
No,
protest this,
we have,
Chris,
we have
if
a
we go
motion to
forward,
adjourn. We have voted
if
to
we
adjourn.
win, the city prosecutor gonna have to pay all our attorney fees, stuff like this, if we win the case.
Your attorney's
If the
fees,
judge,
What's that?
Not your attorney's fees.
If the judge decides then that, we can ask the judge.
Probably not, okay, we're adjourned.
All right.
Mhm.
Very good.
See, you know, like, once you go push on that.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Well, I appreciate it. We got somebody who can jump in.
What big house that you want, not only that, but they have. Sorry,